less all in. Like it's not as one dimensional. You go Slatter Lifestealer or like a Slatter PA type thing. It's like all single target, very one dimensional. What you're trying to do. A hero that isn't going to scale well can get kited quite hard later on. Whereas Jug, you can 5-man push with Healing Ward. You've got a good ultimate Omni Slash. You've got some magic damage from the Blade Fury. It's just all around a more all-around hero. And I think the other big thing we've seen TNC use Jug. It's a hero that beats Ember mid 1v1. This is the like counter pick to the Ember if you want to run it mid lane.
Yeah, that's a great point, guys. I think that's the most likely use for him there. And also, there's other hidden utility as well. Healing Ward, say up against Fatal Bonds or something like that in a bigger team fight where you have that spread AoE coming out, the Ember Spirit as well. And so most likely, I would expect the Juggernaut to go mid. For aggressive, obviously, this used to be one of his more popular, famous heroes, but maybe something more that he's been accustomed to this patch. The Ursa, we've seen a lot being picked up by aggressive.
Do you like the Ursa? They lost both games with it.
Ursa?
I think they've gotten a little too comfortable with it, and it's become a bit predictable. Other teams have been figuring out how to beat it. And also aggressive when he plays very much to his name, right? He loves to just get in your face and fight. The thing with Ursa is the tempo, sometimes there's a difference between them and their mid. There was a couple fights yesterday where he was going in as Ursa and it was like full tilt, we're going to come fight. And the Shadow Fiend was like, I don't know about the position for this. It didn't really work out for them. And they've been using the Underlord as well, one of the ROTK's more popular heroes in this patch as well, to kind of complement that where they want to take these like early mid-game team fights and finish the game fairly early.
I'm so happy Underlord got banned though, because even though I knew that RTK was going to be the Underlord player to look out for, I was not impressed yesterday. It seemed like they just couldn't be as aggressive as they wanted to be in the early stages of the game, and that just made Underlord look poop.
You were straight up flaming yesterday, don't you? Unimpressed, Shiver. You flamed him.
I was unimpressed.
DC were impressed though because they banned it out.
They banned it out,
They
and
were
I'm
impressed.
so happy.
Good for them. All right, we haven't talked about the Putka pick yet. Pudge being picked up from DC. Kind of a normal flavor we've been seeing in their menu.
Misery was playing Pudge before it was cool, I'd say, as far as the full position Pudges go. Before all those like neutral pulls were happening, he was just happy to run a casual Pudge pick. So
I remember an outstanding Misery Pudge at Genting. I forgot who it was against, but I don't know if it was against Wings or not, but this guy was just hitting every hook, and it was like, this guy's got a hook hack going or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I believe that was against Newbie, and that was like single-handedly winning the tournament there. I mean, yeah, it was disgusting.
And there was something like he'd only picked it like very rarely, like once or something in the previous few years.
Yeah.
But Pudge and Ember Spirit, I mean, as far as pubs go, these are the heroes that you see, especially in China. This is like, for the Chinese players, must be a very familiar sight for them on the ladder. This is first and second pick every random draft rank game, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
that's
the aggressive hero now.
so interesting. Why not just lock that in last time? But I guess you're right. It gave them more options to think about what they were going to pick up. And
They valued the Jug more, is kind of
Sure.
what that says. Like, they really want the Jug to be able to counterpick to the Ember, and they're happy to forgo having a Lifesteal. If Lifesteal got banned, they'll be like, well, it's okay. We can substitute that for an Ursa. We saw the Slatter Ursa in 2 games yesterday, so I think they felt there was more flexibility with Aggressive's hero. I mean, Freeze has flexibility in his heroes, but they felt like this Jug pick is really good. I mean, it crushes Ember mid. It absolutely destroys the matchup, so.
All right. So, noob question for you then, gentlemen. Lifestealer, to me, seems like a pretty good hero against Pudge. I mean, he eats up strength heroes, right? Can go through all that HP, but I guess Pudge can, you know, ult him and then he doesn't get to get out of situations. Who wins that matchup, you think?
You're right, it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. It's one of those.
It's not like a clear cut. I think Lifestealer is slightly better off because even though you can dismember during rage, you're not killing him. Yeah, you waste the rage, but typically you want to use that dismember to actually get a kill during that duration. And
Okay.
Pudge is in the front lines dismembering someone, you're not killing that hero. Once that dismember wears off, Lifestealer's going to kill you. So
He's going to go on a rampage, especially with that armor reduction. And then I like the Lifestealer pickup over the Ursa in this case. I feel like Ember Spirit and Warlock may be better heroes at kiting the Ursa, generally speaking. You saw some trouble with that yesterday as well, I believe, in some of the matchups. And so I like this Lifestealer pickup. And, of course, the natural vehicle coming out from the Slardar.
Yeah.
With another one potentially in the offlane.
I mean, we've just been seeing more and more of that. Teams valuing mobility and the ability to move around the map, high vision. So Ursa's having some rough times. I don't think we'll be seeing him too much more in this tournament.
I feel like a lot of teams would maybe consider putting Ember safe lane at this point, but I've never seen Rezo play the Ember Spirit just because the matchup is quite bad. And I feel like a lot of this draft from, I mean, VGJ have revealed like their overall game plan at this point. They haven't perhaps picked up their offlaner depending on what Slada does. But there's, to me, there's good consideration towards getting a better mid matchup, a hero that can beat the Jug mid and give Ember the safe lane.
All right, Beastmaster pick coming up. Shiver, you taught me about that yesterday.
I like it, especially with the Pudge there too. You got that vision going. Pudge can get those hooks going. There's a lot of control. There's a lot of team fight on the side of DC, and I'm seeing a lot of fight on the side of VGJ, but not a lot of team fight. They can pick off heroes, sure. As mentioned, Lifestealer with the Slardar, you got that. There you go.
There's the team fight.
There you go. Thank you.
Hello.
And I really like this, actually, especially the Magnus Juggernaut. The crowd likes it too, I think.
They love RTK, I feel like.
Yeah,
he
I think he got the biggest cheer out of everybody.
Yeah, he was just on there, like he got put on camera and like did like a little like smirk, and everyone was
Yeah.
just like losing their shit up there.
In a scene where so many players are, kind of very introverted, kind of you don't see that much of their personality and stuff. ROTK is the swashbuckling exception to that in many ways. This guy's very outgoing, so expressive, and then over the years, some of the fans, if the fans don't like him, they'll say, maybe this guy's a little bit past his prime, maybe he's not as sharp as he used to be, but the leadership and the expression is always there, and that's very important. We've seen a couple of teams recently, most recently actually FY's former team, VGR, where they needed somebody who was this vocal leader, and that's where Mikasa stepped in and filled in that role. ROTK certainly fills that role, and it's very important for teams that he's been on, and that's why you see immediate success often when he's there.
Iconic as well.
No, can we talk about Magnus a little bit? I mean, I don't think he's been banned. I don't think he's been picked for the entirety of the tournament. And here he is, kind of that sneaky little team fight. And we've seen teams kind of valuing even Tidehunter over that Magnus. Any particular reason why he works in this game?
Empowering Jug and Lifestealer allows them to farm a lot faster, to do a lot more damage in a team fight, and I mean, compared the Tide would be nice because you get a mech buyer as well as like a maybe more reliable offlaner and teamfight presence, but the empower for the farming in the late game is something incredibly valuable for a hero. Like Jug mid can often fall off and not farm it at like a very fast rate, but that's where the Magnus kind of makes up for that.
Don't have to build Battle Fury.
That's right, free Battle Fury.
There you go.
Oh,
Those
approves.
stats were
If
impressive.
you're
That
OD
was,
They
Pixel,
were
you
actually
still get
impressive-
Battle Fury though.
impressive.
Yeah, double Battle
the
Fury. Think
Devil's
about it.
KDA and a godly win rate, 79%.
79%. Yeah, that was.
So he's got a great
That's
synergy
very
with their
high.
heroes, and he also offers often with Magnus, I think for the most part, you don't necessarily want to be initiating unless you have a great follow-up. It's possible for them to do that here, but he also offers great counter initiation. We mentioned some of the vision and the initiation that DC has right now. Magnus offers a great way to disturb that, kind of break that up, and you often have to be close to finish off some of VGJ's heroes, and Magnus kind of prevents you from doing that. It becomes hard to take those team
And they've
fights
already
later.
got initiation in Slaughter, so it's not like all in. Like Magnus
Exactly.
doesn't need to and doesn't want to be starting the fight. You want the Slaughter Lifestealer to do that. Jug can follow it up. Magnus is almost like the killing blow. Like he comes in at the end once they're grouped up for that Ravage. He maybe for the RP. He maybe even solo RPs an Ember. If Ember's a big problem here and you can get him in a solo RP and kill him, worth doing. So
Absolutely.
Hey, oh, I love that.
Interesting.
I think one of the problems maybe that VGJ is going to run into is that they got 3 extra melees next to the Magnus, so you got an RP,
Yeah.
great. You skewer everybody back, everybody fighting, and then you get something dropped on top of you by the Warlock. So that might be a bit of a problem there, but the Terrorblade to round it out for a digital chaos.
great against melee heroes, great against Lifestealer. Like if you can't get on top of Terrorblade, he's going to kill you. And also very good against Slaughter Lifestealer, one of the highest, perhaps the highest armor hero in the game or something. I don't know exactly that, but he gets incredible agi. He can build stat items. He doesn't die to that Slaughter Lifestealer duo. So
I want to hear it. Who do we favor? First game of this best of 3 elimination series.
Oh, don't look at me. Jack
Well-
knows I'm the best. Come on.
Yeah, but that's why maybe you have to.
I feel like we're talking a lot about VGJ's drop, but I actually like DC with the Terrorblade pick. I feel like it rounds off very well. The Terrorblade with the Beastmaster aura. I think this Terrorblade is a fantastic pick. I'm going to side with DC on this.
All right, Jack.
It looked a little bit like Wings Game 2 draft yesterday when they won the last pick Terrorblade as well. I feel like they have good ability to take towers. I feel like if they fight around this Terrorblade, obviously the Warlock offers great counter initiation as well, and the Pudge. And so I think if they can control that tempo, not get too behind in lanes, and be okay in team fights, I don't know. I think DC's in pretty good shape. I like their draft.
Why do I always have to be this guy? I feel like Magnus.
You don't have to.
I don't have to, but I honestly feel
like
like
Alright.
Magnus could be pretty good in this game. A nice grab on the Terrorblade to make sure they can't sunder, and a big amount of burst damage on that. I feel like they have enough control, even with Cask, to make sure that Terrorblade doesn't ball too much out of control. So, call me crazy, but I'm feeling VGJ on this one.
Well, we are going to find out what Merlini and Lyrical have to say about that, because they will be the voices of this first game. It is over to them.
Thank you very much, Sheever. Hello and welcome, everybody. We're here and in the game. VGJ facing off against DC, second series of the day. Merlini, how you feeling? Do you like the draft that we saw, that last pick, Terrorblade? Is it going to be enough?
I like it. I will call Slex a little bit crazy. He told us to, after all.
I mean, that's reasonable.
It's an ROTK Magnus.
Oh my
The
God! Listen to
crowd,
that crowd.
goes wild for ROTK. He is he's just loved by everyone here.
You know, the crowd hasn't been able to go wild for a lot of things. China teams have been struggling a little bit in this so far, but this could be one of those teams to watch. We saw them put up a pretty good performance yesterday. Granted, they did end up losing the series, of course, but there were moments and highlights within it. So I'm very curious to see how they do. Do you feel like this is a pretty even matchup in this game here?
In terms of team skill,
Yeah.
I think DC has the upper hand, simply because of a couple of things. Wait, ROTK going mid? Okay,
Oh,
never
he's just
mind.
blocking.
He's jumping. Okay. Firstly, I think that the mid is a big discrepancy. I think we is much more experienced than Freeze, and you know, Jug's not the most difficult hero to play, but I think he has a lot of room to grow as a player.
Oh, he just is actually going to also pop an Empower onto him. So that's a nice little way to start this. Yeah, I would agree. He's tended to struggle, particularly in the early laning phase, was the big problems that he would have.
Yep.
That being said, Juggernaut versus Ember Spirit, how do you feel like this matchup fares for the Juggernaut just in general?
Wasn't I casting with you when we had this exact same matchup?
I feel like we might have been.
I think so.
Yeah.
Ember has slightly less armor, and he doesn't have the crit, so Juggernaut usually gets ahead in CS. My number is like 10 to 15% CS favored for Juggernaut, but neither hero should die. But you know, things can happen. The thing about the Empower level 1 is that you automatically know where the Magnus is, because he would have to be in the middle lane already to cast it on him. And FY is going to be the surrogate offlaner in this game, and he is having a little bit of a tough time versus Misery. However, Misery is out of regen.
And this, of course, does mean that ROTK is given a bit more of that farm priority, considering he would have a really rough time in the laning stage. Meanwhile, for DC, you got Moonmeander there, and, well, FY maybe in a little bit of trouble. They're trying to chase him down. One more right click is going to be enough, and Resolution picks up that first blood.
That is actually ROTK's weak point, though, I think, is actually his laning phase. So I think jungling with the Iron Talon this game and having FY go to offlane to soak up experience is actually a little bit better for this scenario, because if like Magnus doesn't get his items, he's just constantly going to die to like Ember jumping on him, Beastmaster scouting him out and whatnot, and Pudge, it looks like he's waiting for a 2-minute rune, praying for a regeneration, and it is not.
Well,
there.
it is a regen, but it's
it
up
is a
top.
regen.
Well, and this is another nice little thing here. You know, of course, denying to neutrals means you get that added respawn time. Not for Pudge, though. He can just keep on denying himself out for the low respawn, come back to lane, and one of the few ways that you can still make that work. But Moon heading back home. Do you sort of feel like the Magnus needs to get a lot done in this game, or what's going to be sort of the big
He's our big team fighter, man. So Slardar is going to be, you know, he's usually pretty important because you have that Slardar lifesteal combo, but Magnus is the one that brings your team fight together. They have to deal with, he has to deal with like Rock. Rock is just like really annoying to deal with, and like sometimes Fatal Bonds can like catch the Magnus or something like that. Sometimes you think you're about to have a 6 skewer and then you get rocked, and I think it's especially troublesome in this game. And on top of that, yeah, it's just their main team fight composition, and if they don't lock down the Terrorblade, I think the panel mentioned that, you know, maybe they can keep them locked down with RP and cast, but they always have that rock to interrupt them, and I think that's a very potent combo. Not as potent as, let's say, like Dazzle Terrorblade, but still very strong and way stronger in a team fight.
Oh, they're moving in now. Under Resolution, able to hit the skewer. A couple more right clicks. He is getting a lot of heals in, though.
Do you see his armor? 13 armor right there next to the T1. This is why you pick him versus Slardar.
Really good decision there. And, you know, you look at the rest of the lineup that you've got from DC, too, and there's so many different ways to save people. Well, another little, the cast comes out, the right click's coming through as well, and Soxka is going to end up going down. So in spite of the high armor Terrorblade, they just say, let's kill off the Warlock.
Very nice positioning coming out from Fenrir, and Soxa was hugging the left side because it's kind of close to the tower, but it also just makes it very easy for them to jump from that blind spot, and they just did not see Fenrir coming in at all. And ROTK's actually showed up to lane quite early as a Magnus. It looks like he is going for the energy booster in his quick buy as opposed to like a Treads Echo Saver build, which is, you know, sometimes the way that you do want to take that Magnus.
Yeah. And you see now as well, the fact that he's been able to get there and help out the laning stage a little bit compared to Moonmeander, who's focused more on just getting that farm up. He's going to need to make sure he does something pretty early on. And where do you feel like that first rotation is going to need to go in this game?
For whom?
For the Beastmaster.
Beastmaster, probably gank Ember's lane. I think Juggernaut is not invulnerable in this scenario.
Oh, again, down bottom, that Maledict damage, the skewer back as well. ROTK finds it. They're going to try and turn, see if he can kill off FY. Is going to be able to find that one. Also getting healed up, but not enough. Fatal Bonds is here as well, and now with Pudge, Misery looking for that hook, but there was a creep in the way, and, well, still getting chased down. ROTK, not long for this world, as they are going to be able to run him down.
Rezo made the best out of that situation, too. He knew he was going to die, but he still got the Slaughter kill before he died, and he used that illusion to give vision for Misery, so that was a quick and easy kill for them. And it looks like Vici's getting a lot done in this offlane because ROTK is being really great with his skewers, but they are conceding a lot of kills in the meantime.
And he talked a little bit about some of the problems that we've seen Freeze have. Giving him this good matchup means that you're leaving the rest of your team free to move around the map a lot more, make things happen. It does look like Slardar got a quick little glimpse of Moon, but might be a bit scary for him to
He was
stick
actually
around.
trying to go for the kill on We just trained up and TP'd mid, and he wasn't able to stop his TP in time. And now that we have this bottle, he should be A-okay, although I don't know where Chicken is.
No, looks like it's still back in base for the moment. And you saw there as well, Misery heading over towards mid, trying to find a hook onto the Juggernaut, but wasn't really able to find that angle. Freeze playing this well so far, and you take a look at the CS disparity, it's pretty heavily into the favor of Vici J. How concerned would you be right now if you're DC?
I'm not terribly concerned. Resolution still getting his farm on. Magnus has been forced to leave the lane, so you know that he's not completely free-farming.
ROTK again getting very aggressive. Skewer has already been used, but he does have another shockwave. Can't throw it out there. Right click's coming through, diving deep for this one. They need to find the kill, but it's not going to happen. Sunders as well to heal up, so the Maledict can't take him down.
That was
Great
a
play.
really fancy Quelling Blade play from him, too. That was very smooth.
Well, the Omni Slash gets used, and Misery trying to run back out and away is going to drop for it. But that's Omni down, and that means that the Terrorblade doesn't have a whole lot to fear right
Dude,
now.
this bottom lane is just crazy. Oh, they have a Sentry Ward.
We spots Fenrir. ROTK there as well. They know that they're on him. They're trying to turn and get out, but Fenrir, no way to escape.
I didn't think that they try and contest the Terrorblade so much. That's not something that you actually see very often. Usually Terrorblade just gets freeform, shifts over to jungle, and the support takes over the lane. So you're getting a lot out of the first 10 minutes from your safe lane as Terrorblade. And I do like this approach from them to try and shut him down early. However, doesn't really seem like it's working out that well for them because Terrorblade is still #1 on the network, and Warlock is level 5.5. That's actually very scary.
All right, well, the top lane, Misery going to get gone on again. It does look like they have enough to take him down at the very least. We might be a little bit of a different story, and they jump inside of the creep, so it doesn't look like they're going to be able to take the Lifestealer out of there.
They need to get something out of this meta though. Like you can't just use meta and not get anything out of it. They have to pressure this tower, I think, with the Inner Beast coming. I don't know what level it is on the Beastmaster. It looks like he has gone for the 0-4-2, so it's a level 2 Inner Beast.
They're not going to actually get anything out of it. He does just back out again. Yeah, you know, it feels to me as if it's really been the Warlock pick that's helped them so much in this game. The heals, as well as that DOT and the Fatal Bonds have just been huge in these early skirmishes.
Yeah, he's really strong versus this 4 melee lineup. Yeah, they have a little bit of magic immunity, but Fatal Bonds is just really devastating. And it also counteracts a lot of the hurt from the Maledict that Fenrir has been trying to bring down the Terrorblade with. So yeah, I do like this combination that they've been bringing. Almost level 6 on Saksa, but however, there is no more meta on Resolution.
Yeah, it does look like they're backing, at least for the moment. Could be towards a smoke play, and yeah, it looks like that is what they're going to be going for. Moon Meander, roar up. Where's the kill?
Yeah, they need to roar, get a kill, and then they'll get level 6 on Saksa, but Wee is in deep in mid. FY knows that something funny is happening with how aggressively he's pulling behind the tower.
It looks like they're just going to use the smoke to transition right into the tower. And I mean, is there any way that they can try and push for more here, or do they just have to stop with the tier 1?
They know that they're way stronger right now because Warlock's level 6, Moon Meander has his Helma Dom, which is really strong this early into the game, and they don't have level 6 on Saksa though. He might die. He's getting He really just wants like one creep, but they also don't want this tower to be denied, but looks like they'll just have to let it go.
Yeah, very unfortunate. So you do see we at least forced back for a little while. They're kind of spreading out again to put themselves in a position to farm into the next set of items. Can you just kind of go from tower to tower like this, like clockwork with the DC lineup, or do they still sort of need to hold out a little bit against this VGJ side?
I think you always just have to push out lanes, else enemy gets too much. Like Magnus is farming his Blink Dagger peacefully in the side lane because so many heroes were on that top side. FY Fenrir and Aggressive smoked on the top side, but Moon's all the way on the left side of the tower, so it doesn't look like he's going to fall prey to this.
Ooh, almost a good one there for Misery. Tries to find himself an ROTK, but won't come up with one. Looks like everybody just back to their spots. You know, we're talking a lot about the Slardar Blink Dagger whenever he comes up and online. For you, do you feel like this Magnus needs to go for a farming build at all? Like, does he need to transition into that third big core, or I think he can just go utility?
Jug and Lifesteal to eat up a lot of the map. So because they can pressure so far in because they have the magic immunity generally, although magic immunity not the best this game versus Dismember and the Rock, but it is still going to be pretty important for him to be able to initiate later on. I think if he goes for a farming build, they won't be able to fight because he's gonna this is a game that you want Shadow Blade and a Blink Dagger on the Magnus so you can find the jump, because without a good RP, I think they will just get crushed in team fights.
Yeah. We saw there another kill go down onto ROTK, so despite his early good start in the lane, has struggled a little bit at least towards finding things. And it looks like pressure now down onto the tier 1 tower.
Vici need to contest this at some point though, because they're not even forced to use the Rock for these towers. And you mentioned, are they going to keep going from tower to tower to tower? If they don't contest, then they can just keep going to tower because they always have that trump card of the Rock. So they need to be able to take a fight even with the Rock on DC side.
Oh, and this is so great as well. The Hawks scouting the Lifestealer on the right side of the map. So they have the push at it. Well, all right, they get a little deny, not bad at all. But the Pudge also just makes this so scary. If Weehaw finds a chains onto somebody, it's a quick pull back in and a kill.
They drafted well against it though. With the spin and the Lifestealer, you don't actually care if you get hooked, because you can just do a lot of damage to the Pudge. If you're a Lifestealer, you can just open wounds, rage, start with the fight that way. And if you're Juggernaut, you can just simply spin away. So it's not the biggest deal in the world. For someone like Magnus, it's a huge deal, but usually he's not out in front.
So
FY, 2 towers down already. It's getting to that point where DC are able to take towers. Yeah, both of them got denied, but they still got 2 towers, and they're still accruing net worth at a pretty decent clipping.
Kind of wondering now as well, like, what's the play for Vici J? You said contesting when they're moving up to try and take these with Metamorphosis.
Magnus Blink is what you need.
Okay.
That was not very close.
That's quite far away at the moment. Misery, in the meantime, has been able to get into a nice bit of farm for himself. Already the energy booster online. Imagine just going back for that Aether Lens next.
Some people actually don't like Aether Lens that much on Pudge.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, it's 2,000 gold, and it doesn't actually give you that much survivability. It gives you a health regen and mana and cast range. But I think that this member on with the Aether Lane's cast range is ridiculous. But at the same time, like getting Hood or a Blade Mail, might actually save him when he otherwise would have died. But it just depends on what type of style you're playing with the Pudge. Either you're going to be in there taking a lot of damage with Hood and Blade Mail, or you're going to be fishing for hooks and letting your teammates go in and then keep fishing for hooks some more, which is where Aether Lens is much better. But because he does have the Ember Spirit on his team, perhaps the Aether Lens is going to be much better.
Yeah, definitely. You also see here as well, just taking down the tower. That time they didn't even need to pop Metamorphosis. So
yeah.
This is looking really scary for Vici J if they just keep on going along the line. No Blink Dagger yet, only 50 gold away from ROTK.
Yeah, he might. I think. Yeah, okay, he did get it from the tower. So it's about time for them to smoke. I mean, they've still lost 4 towers without using Rock once, without forcing out Rock once. So. And as you mentioned, without meta. So next fight they're going to take, oh, here it goes.
This could be a very bold engagement. It does look like they're missing, actually, the Warlock here. So I imagine everyone from DC just backs off for the moment, gets set up. Can you move now in towards, like, thinking about Roshan as well? Is that something that you can take on DC?
That's usually what happens when you have the better team fight. You can just force Roshan. If they come to you, you're like, well, we have better team fight. And they also have like the Warlock heal to sustain them in the Roshan. Looks like they are not going to wait. This could be a potential for a big RP. However, they just need eyes on ROTK. Where is that Hawk? that they need. The Hawk is coming in, but it has not scouted out ROTK. They are indeed on the right side, and Terrorblade Illusion will be the first one to be scouted out by that siege creep.
Also the night vision giving a little bit less range than you would have otherwise had. And, well, I wonder if ROTK knows he's there. They have one here as well. They haven't de-warded this up on the hill yet, DC. So they decide to back out. Looks like they can just come back in again with Weeha laying down that remnant.
Wee's actually very poor. He has not even completed his Veil yet.
Life Stealer there to the side.
You can see Misery pinging on him. He knows that keeping eyes on the Magnus is by far the most important thing in this fight. If they have an infested, empowered lifesteal inside of the Magnus and they hit an RP on like 2 heroes, especially the Warlock, they will just get demolished.
Does he have Echo Saber yet? No, not quite, but he will have it really shortly, and that's one of those extra things where just the massive amount of burst damage will come out.
Yeah, it's really tough for Magnus in this scenario though. Like, I cannot stress how difficult it is playing Magnus in this scenario. You have to do a lot of things. You have to keep in power on 2 heroes. You can't really farm that much because you don't have Echo Saber, and you also have 2 cores that eat up a lot. You have to deal with the Hawk, and you're the only teamfight ultimate. There's no setup for the RP aside from himself. Maybe Cast, but I mean, that's not really great setup.
Yeah, definitely. You know, another thing to mention now is you do have this Slardar who's going to be able to pick up a Blink Dagger. That might be that extra little bit of initiation where you can allow the fight to develop a little bit with a pick-off coming from the Mag Lifestealer or the Slardar Lifestealer combo.
But if let's say you hit 3 heroes with the Slardar Crush and you get 3 hero RP and then you get rocked with the 2-man Fatal Bonds, you're probably going to lose the fight miserably. Yeah. Because then they'll get the Sunder off too, and they're almost always going to have the Terrorblade out in front as one of the heroes that gets RP'd because they want them to go on him so they can save him with a rock.
And you can see as well the itemization that you're getting right now from Moon Meander, going back for the Vlads after the Helm of the Dominator, just all aura all the time, and here might be that moment that we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, they didn't actually precast Empower on Lifestealer, which I think is very important because he does have the Echo Saber, so you're just doing a ton of damage. Misery, yeah, that's not the target that you want. You see him, but you know that that's not the best.
Well, they're going to jump out and go onto him. A quick kill, and that's a free one, so they'll take that. Don't really throw out too many of the big ultis, obviously, to make use of that.
Smokes, I actually don't think it's worth it, though. A smoke is very important in this sort of game, and blowing a smoke for a kill, especially if you don't get the tower off of it, is very, very bad. So they all get hit by Fatal Bonds, and now Magnus can't blink for a good, 20 seconds. So that's the fight right there.
Jeez.
Yep.
Well, and they pop Metamorphosis right as well at the start of this one, so I guess that they're going to need to pressure down the tier 2 tower in the mid lane off the back of this, or can they go back for Roche?
I think you definitely go for Roche here. So Warlock actually went for a 4-2-0 build, and I think he knows how important the Fatal Bonds is in this game. The cooldown is reduced, so it's 18 seconds cooldown, 25-second uptime for that, and hitting a Fatal Bonds is as good as like a Shadow Strike, for example, if you're Queen of Pain. You're always looking to get on the Magnus so he cannot blink in the fight. If you get a Fatal Bonds on him early in the fight,
uh-oh. Well, moving in. They're able to pull the hook back in. Weeha kills off the Slardar on the other side, and they've been able to control out and possibly bring down aggressive. Stun for days, and will infest inside of a creep. Okay. They're going to get out of there for the moment, and that might be his ticket away.
Yeah, they just did not have enough burst, just not enough damage. I don't know where Moon's Helmet Dominator creep. Maybe that extra little bit from like a Alpha Wolf or a little bit extra Sun from a Centaur would have helped him out, but at the same time, sometimes it's a double-edged sword bringing a Helmet Dominator creep into the fight because you can just give him a free place to go in.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was pretty close right there.
Close.
And Misery going to walk right past Fenrir. Need to be careful here, buddy. They are going to come in with this Airblade as well. Well, maybe going to be able to get a good initiation. The RP, but there's the rock for the counterplay. Fatal Bonds onto 2. Is it going to be enough? The Slardar Crush, and they kill him off. So 2 go down for DC. Vici J looking strong, and now Moon Meander as well going to be turned upon here, but looks like they're not going to chase too much further.
That was pretty good for them. However, they actually had Fenrir back there really, really quickly. Anyways, that was a very good RP from him.
Well, Crush, right clicks, Moon needs to be careful. They find that kill as well. Dominating for aggressive. That Echo Slayer Armlet combination, he's just got a ton of burst.
With Empower, he hits for what, like 200, and he has a ton of minus armor, especially if the amp on a hero. It's just, they are going to get destroyed. And I think now the
Weeha? Oh my god. That's a scary moment. Another crush now. Misery needs to be careful. Skewered back. They're going to find that kill. These heroes just melt to this minus armor.
And no one's really tanky enough to get in there at the start of the fight. They don't quite have the Manta on the Terrorblade, which certainly would have helped. But the fights have just been very, very scrappy, which has been favoring Vici by far. Because you're just able to get, like, every time like Amp, Blink, Crush are up, boom, you go in and get a kill. And then you just repeat that every, like, 12, 15 seconds, which is kind of just what they did right there. And these are some very squishy targets, like the Pudge. You know, he doesn't have that much armor and he has a ton of HP, so he's the ideal target for a Lifestealer.
Yeah, this is feeling to me like the momentum is just so heavily switched. Just a moment ago, you're talking about taking Roshan, being able to tear down all these tier 2 towers, and the 5-man group up team fight potential from this Vici Gabe squad has been really rough to deal with. Weeha maybe in a little bit of trouble as well. Skewered down, and he is out of there. They pull in the Lifestealer, but like you said, just rage and fight some more. It looks like DC not really having the answers now, and Soxka left completely alone, trying to walk back out in a way he's just going to be brought down as well. Omni Slash now down as well under resolution. Doesn't get the Sunder off. Freeze with the double kill. From bad to worse, DC do not have a response.
Oh, they might lose a gem right here. That would be, oh my
Moon Meander,
God.
nowhere to go. Roar is down, trying to get away, but ROTK, he pushes him to the low ground. He is going to be able to TP out. They can't get on top of him. No, they do find the stun. The right clicks, and there's the kill.
Gem of True Sight dropped here. That is your worst nightmare if you're a DC fan. 5 heroes dead, tower dead, gem down, Roshan slain. That is rough. I think they just haven't really been fighting together at all. I think like they haven't been really doing a good job of disrupting the Slaughter and the Magnus. They've been getting free blinks off. Warlock can't get a Fatal Bond. Like if he runs in, he's gonna die. And I think that's kind of where the Ember Spirit needs to be able to jump in there. But he's kind of been trying to recover in terms of his farm. He was, I believe, like 6th in net worth not so long ago. Now he's number 5, and he just picked up his Blink and Veil. And you just have to be able to stop these heroes from jumping on your weak heroes that Lifestealer just loves to eat up alive.
Yeah, normally we'd be able to see something like a very defensive hero out of DC. You think about like a Dazzle, for instance, maybe to help stem the damage that's coming out, save somebody at the last second. You take a look at those net worth graphs.
Oh God, these items.
A disaster.
That's 2 Midases, one on Witch Doctor, one on the Lifestealer, or sorry, one on the Slaughter, and you have the AC completed onto the Lifestealer, which is quite crazy, but he did skip the Desolator, so that's actually kind of useful for him. But yeah, he is hitting insanely hard right now and is just, I mean, with Empower, it's just completely different.
Yeah, and it sort of begs the question, what's going to be your catch-up potential if they're beating you now with these Midases and everything else? It does look like the smoke in towards the mid lane. Moon Meander is there as well as Misery, and now FY going to come back in. This could be a huge blow if they manage to find somebody from DC.
Yep, just waiting for the big RP. ROTK smoked onto the low ground. It might pop in just a second, but he doesn't actually want it to pop right now.
Freeze can do this. No fear of really any repercussion because of the counter initiation play.
And who do you hook right now? You can't hook either of those two. Lifestealer has Aegis and he has Rage, and then Juggernaut also has the Spin. And they don't actually have a good way to disable them after the hook. Sometimes you want like an instant disable, like Rubik Lift, for example, or like a Lion Hex, like as they're getting hooked so you can actually kill them. But in this situation, you'd have to roar them while they're like sliding from the hook, or dismember immediately, which is not super reliable. Maybe drop the rock, but then you're committing a lot just for a potential hook kill. So like their combination isn't that great.
Well, they're now going to be able to find FY. They pull him back in with Misery, and that will be a kill. So at least something going well there for DC. And this feels to be the way they have to play.
I think he had the gem, right? I'm pretty certain he did have the gem.
Okay, yeah, Pudge does have it now.
Yeah, so they got the gem back. So that's very nice for them.
So this sort of begs the question, is this the way they have to take these team fights from now on, just like find pickoffs until they get to some massive net worth ahead of them?
No, they can still team fight. They just need to be able to jump the important heroes. Like they need to be able to deal with the Juggernaut and Lifestealer or limit their damage output while they make sure that Mag doesn't get a good RP off or the Slaughter. The Magnus and the Slaughter are the most important heroes to kill. Like Witch Doctor, like, you know, if he ults, you can just rock him and drop Fatal Bonds. He's going to die from a lot of side damage. But it's mostly the Slaughter and the Magnus who will be able to control the fight. And even limiting the Empower cast from ROTK by killing him is very important.
Yeah. And maybe vision also going to be one of those things where you can keep the eyes on ROTK like we were talking about in that top fight. So Beastmaster need to make sure those Hawks are spread out all around the map. And as you said, the gem going to make a pretty big difference for how this works out now.
Magnus almost has Shadow Blade, though. He's 500 gold away from having a Shadow Blade. So, like, the Hawk is not very reliable anymore. And they use smokes in between his Blink and his Shadow Blade, which is very important for them to make sure that he gets that one or two good RPs off that he needs to get into this point in the game.
Well, despite what some people are saying, Vici J feeling like a very strong team right now. I was sort of not expecting them to come out of the gates this good, but after a little bit of a rough laning phase, they've been able to persevere, and now Moon Meander sort of in an area where he could try and do something to freeze, but feels like it'd be tough. Is Necrobook just gone completely at this point for
too late.
Beastmaster?
It'll just get eaten alive by Lifestealer or Jug with Empower. So I think it's out of the question. I don't know what he actually goes for, though. Look, his quick buy says Blink, but I'm just not for Necro this game. I think like the amount of damage that it'll do relative to something like a Terror Blade with 2 or 3 items is just minimal. Although the aura is pretty useful. Maybe Drums. I don't know. Drums is just not very good right now, but it will help out the Terror Blade a lot.
Yeah. Oh, Courier ends up going down, as it looks like Moon might be the one that gets found out here, and he just melts. There is no answer for that one.
These are heroes that they're necessary casualties. You can't live in, if you just park yourself in base, you're not going to get any farm. Someone has to die. Ideally your Pudge, I would say, or your Warlock. Actually, not even your Warlock, because you want your Warlock to get Midas. Maybe after Warlock gets Midas, you kind of sacrifice him now and then, but you need a hero just to die just so you can open up the map a little bit more. And he actually has to buy back for this, which is not ideal, but necessary for this point in the game because they still do have the Aegis and Lifestealer. So you're sacrificing a lot of net worth to not lose a set of racks, which, you know, you're literally buying time.
So this is something that I'm curious about then. For the Terror Blade, is he a hero that you can just completely carry the game as for resolution?
Yeah.
So the goal, I guess, at the end of the day for DC is just farm up until what's sort of that critical mass for him that he would need to achieve for Vici J not to be able to really deal with them?
There is no critical mass. It's just, you know, he just needs items.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Manta Butterfly is going to be like, oh my god, they can definitely fight right now. Or like Manta Scotty is going to be like, oh my god, they can fight right now. It's more so like, it's not even that easy for a Terror Blade, because if he like casts Conjure Image and then he has a Manta illusion and it just is cleaved down immediately by a Lifestealer, you're doing no damage. So he has to like set up a lot in the fights with spreading out his illusions, maybe even spreading out his Mantas, not getting the RP illusions clumped up. If his illusions clump up and get RP, they're also doing no damage. He's like, I would say like 70% of the damage in their fights.
Oh my god. Well, that's going to be the first one used and able to get out in the midst of it.
Where was Freeze? Freeze was a little bit too far back. Maybe, I mean, he did have a Blink Dagger, so ROTK,
oh my god.
I'm not really sure whether or not they were together. And now they know RP down and going for that small window. It looks like the Aegis has also expired, so looks like they are trying to either bait out Wii or go behind him and look for heroes that could potentially be killing him.
This is the time. RP and Omni down and ready to move across the map. It does look like VGJ realizing something could be up. They are all going to back the hell out of the jungle. But this allows, you know, DC to get a little bit more map control for the moment, try and possibly get some D-ward action in as well. But RTK will show in mid.
That's a Lincoln's pickup for Lifestealer. Not very common, but sometimes you'll see it versus Beastmaster.
Seems like it could definitely be relevant. Maybe even at a certain point, cast down an ally to cancel out a Sunder. We might see some epic plays with that. Who knows?
That would be sick. I think he's mostly worried about this member, and yeah, he might. Let's see how selfish he is.
I remember the other day we were watching. Was it Shadow who kept on Sundering his teammates?
Yep.
It's like the best carry ever. A huge net worth lead and experience to overcome for Vici J right now. And it's feeling like they're making all the right moves consistently, backing up when they need to, moving out across the map with the Shadow Blade to try and find initiations.
Yeah.
What's the answer for DC, really?
Farm Terror Blade.
Yeah.
That's it. I farmed Ember Spirit too, but Ember Spirit's mostly there for control and a little bit of damage because all this magic immunity. And because he can die super easily, and Terror Blade's there for the majority of the damage. Normally you're like okay with Terror Blade being like free farming.
Oh my god. Well, another RP is they pull him back in. The right clicks, he is just gone. again, it's like you said, not the biggest deal in the world, but eventually these things are going to start to build up to a sort of huge problem area for DC.
Necessary sacrifices in the line of war.
Poor Beastmaster.
Poor Beastmaster.
He doesn't have buyback.
He went for 20% experience gain, and he's actually almost level 15. So once he gets level 15, he can have his minus 35-second respawn timer. So he's the ideal target for them to RP, I think, if you're DC.
He's back before the cooldown comes off again. Ready to fight some more.
Yep.
But you can see just again the Terrorblade illusions constantly being spammed out and pushed back again. As it looks like Freeze has, well, did you say that it was Lifestealer that went for the Lincolns?
Yep,
Because
we have
Jug
now.
also has.
So Pudge is next to useless because Hook is kind of irrelevant. If you hook even a good target, you can just get Blink RP'd or Blink Slaughter Stun, and they'll just jump on you there. So like, what is he actually supposed to do in the fight? Maybe save people with Hook? Maybe even.
It feels to me like it's going to need to come off the back, like we said, of this Warlock Fatal Bonds and then like a Weehaw big combo in to just deal the damage. Because right now they don't have it, with the exception of if Terrorblade can get on top of somebody. But it's in the team fights. It feels like he's constantly been controlled. A really tough game for DC here.
Very tough indeed,
Oh,
but not impossible.
Looks like he went back for the Blink Dagger on Weehaw. So more of that mobility.
Yeah, I think he got that second. The Blink Dagger is important so he can split push out the lanes. I think you want this to go long. Get a 6-slotted Terrorblade, Butterfly Manta, Scotty, +2, maybe even AC, I think, in this game.
It's like VGJ have kind of been pulled across the map, though. You can see in spite of the dominant advantage they've got, they're still sort of losing out on these towers. How do you kind of put the nail in the coffin if you're them? Is it by virtue of a smoke gank, or do you need to just try and like pick up make sure that the wards are constantly off the map?
You need to do a couple things. Firstly, you need to be able to take the Aegis. That's by far the easiest of the task, I think. Secondly, you need to be able to stop these pit pushers. Like, they almost tried with the kill on Wii, but because they didn't, DC's like, they're encouraged to do so even more because they wasted 2 ultimates that didn't even get a Wii kill. And I think Moon has the right idea. You just put yourself out there, you know? You just put yourself out there, die, whatever. I'm back in minus 35 seconds of what my normal respawn timer would be. So he's level 15 right now. You know, he's going to be back in like 30 seconds or so, which is great. 30 seconds is not very long for a level 15, 16 hero.
Yeah, and I love this play right here by Weehaw. You see he's cutting the wave completely up here into the dire jungle. It's not often you're able to see that type of mobility pay off like this. And BTJ, they don't really have a great answer. They're just kind of being pulled across. And well, the rest of DC is kind of in their jungle now, ready for BTJ just in case they make a move.
Yep. And if you actually look at the last hits, TB is number 1. However, you know, he is number 3 in net worth. But I mean, he's still up there. And keep in mind that it's been a very large net worth gap, but in terms of the actual damage dealing cores, yeah, he doesn't have Empower, but he still hits quite hard. Team net worth is only 18,000 in favor of Vici. I say only.
Only. Yeah, exactly.
Terrorblade is one of those weird heroes that scales very well with items. So, you know, Medusa is split shot, 80% times 5. You're like, oh man, each point of gold, it's like 400%. But I think Terrorblade's similar because of meta and Manta and Conjure Image. You can do, what, like probably 300, 400% with your illusions. And sometimes that's even better than a Medusa because if you disable Medusa, she's not doing any damage. If you disable the main Terrorblade, his illusions are still crushing you.
Man, look at this movement right now. They know exactly where VGJ were. Moon Meander there to tank the gank. They all back out. They spotted it under the ward. Soxka called it out as well that that's where they were going to be going to. Weehaw jumps out and away. The RP connects on to 3, though. This could be big. They pull him back in. The huge combination comes out from VGJ. And looking for more, it does look as if Weehaw is going to be able to TP out. But that one hurt.
That was a sick RP by ROTK. Eyes on the prize, man.
The crowd are definitely going wild now. They're feeling it. As,
they still didn't kill the Terrorblade and the Ember, though.
Yeah, the cores stay alive. It was a little bit strange to me because it looked as if Soxka knew the exact route that they were going to take.
Yeah.
Their scan hit for a second on the left, and they ended up still coming up the mid. So
yeah, I actually don't know what their plan was there. Maybe they were hoping for just a Slaughter Lifestealer, that maybe, like, and that would have been okay. but there were 5 heroes there, and they cannot fight 5-on-5 right now unless they're in their base with their shrines up. And that's a lot of ground to concede. Another 3 deaths, and the gem lost yet again from the hands of DC.
So how's Terrorblade doing? Terrorblade almost butterfly.
I think you buy out here if you're Terrorblade.
Okay.
I think you buy the quarterstaff and the eagle horn, and you YOLO it.
I mean, that's the one thing is that you do now have this moment where Vici can kind of just pressure down mid, right? Like, is there anything else that they really need to be worried about as far as pushing out lanes? Like,
No, not right now. Not after 3 people got wiped, but Terrorblade could potentially try and base them on top, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he does need to be able to buy his butterfly before this fight happens, but it looks like he is actually going to save his gold, and he has 3,900 upheaval. Going to try and slow him down a little. Ooh, that would have been real good for them because that's very deep.
Yeah, that would have been a great hook indeed, and well, he is going to be rooted now for the long duration, and the Terrorblade continuing to hit the damage on him. But ROTK with this long-range initiation might see some magic here in just a second. Force Staff as well as Blink available. They've got vision. They break the Lincolns again. Fatal Bonds doesn't quite connect. The Crush is there as well. They drop the rock, though, onto 5. Fatal Bonds is on a lot of creeps, though, not onto a ton of heroes. The buyback immediately from Ember. And Shrine going. Looking for another hook. Off the mark. They can't quite get it. Crush now onto Misery. They're kind of grouped up. They need to be careful. RP connects onto 2. They take him down as well. Pudge buys back, but that's already going to be Warlock on. They need to jump back into this one. Resolution in the meantime, though, is just hitting away onto all of these heroes. Haven't been able to bring down anybody of Vici yet. Maybe now they'll be able to take down the Lifesteal. We'll see if he's going to be able to infest into anybody. Doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Oh my god, the Fatal Bonds killed Magnus and Witch Doctor in the back.
Oh my god, that is so much damage. And well, trying to get out in a way, they aren't going to be able to take down Moon Meander for the moment, and it looks like they actually are going to be able to control and take down that Lifestealer. It's just too much damage thrown there into the Lifestealer.
That was not the best RP from ROTK. He got, what, the Warlock and +1, Warlock and Pudge, I think. And Reza did a really good job of positioning himself away from all those heroes. He has completed his butterfly now. It took a wee buyback, but still, their structures are intact. They get a huge kill on the Lifestealer. Ended up being 1,000 gold going the way of Wii, so that's pretty much his buyback money and then some. And of course, a ton of experience, which I think is very important in this game, considering how starved they've been for the majority. So after that, net worth looks like 25,000 in favor of DC, or sorry, in favor of VG. But as you can tell, like, net worth is not the most important thing in the world. If you can't break the base, your net worth is kind of irrelevant.
And this is a DD Terrorblade going up, still 50 seconds away from Metamorphosis, but it's a lot of damage. And well, they don't have Magnus back for another couple of seconds. They won't be able to force the buyback.
They would love to be able to get Lifestealer's buyback right now, but that's asking for too much.
No. But Aegis down. They do end up losing at least the tier 3 tower. Did they also lose the racks there in the mid lane?
No,
So
they did not. Melee's hold strong. They might try and go again right now because they know they still have a net worth, huge net worth advantage. If they have a slightly better RP on, let's say, 3 heroes or 2 heroes, including one of Terrorblade or Wii, or if they get Wii beforehand because he doesn't have buyback right now, it could be game over for them. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good point. Now, like, DC's actually starting to get some items too. They have like the Ghost Scepter on the Warlock, and Lifestealer's actually too farmed to even get a Diffusal because he needs better items in his other slots.
yeah, it's sort of a rough time. They also bought back, I believe, on Misery and Warlock. So we don't have a ton of buybacks on the Radiant side. They needed them to hold last time. We'll see if it's going to be the same story here. It does look like the split push is still going along the top lane, and maybe a bots play in could be something else to pull the attention away from BGJ.
They have one buyback on the Radiant side, and that is Resolution. So he's the only one that can die with, and be back in the fight soon. So no Aegis on the side of Vici. A very dangerous point in the game right now for both teams.
And Warlock also picked up the Ghost Scepter. You've got the full completed Mjolnir now on the Ember as well, and it looks like they might think about going towards Shrines. Could be a nice little middle ground as opposed to trying to force the engagement into what could be a bit of a tough situation for them.
They're approaching 6 slots on their cores. Juggernaut, 6 items. Lifestealer, 6 items. I guess he doesn't have Abyssal completed, but they're getting to that point where they're actually starting to level out in terms of their damage output.
And the constant split push from Wii is...
Oh, he's going for Scythe.
This is more of a problem.
That is going to be very, very bad for Wii. If Wii can just get Blink, Force Staffed, and Scythe and just die in 1 second easily. So I don't actually know how you deal with this. He doesn't even have a Lincoln, so you don't even need the Force Staff to pop out. I assumed he had Lincolns, or else you would need to cast Force Staff first. But yeah, pretty much that split pushing is not going to be an alternative for him very soon.
Yeah, and they don't have like that, like we mentioned, either the Dazzle or we also have Moon who's going back for a Solar Crest, I believe, at this point.
Solar Crest is good.
It could actually be Heaven's Halberd, I guess. We'll know when we eventually see. It does look like they're setting up now onto Freeze. We mentioned the Lincoln Sphere. They are going to break it. Roar does come out. Counter initiation play, though. They find it onto 2. Will they be able to make anything of this? The Rock has also dropped. Now Moon Meander going to drop here as the right clicks come in from Freeze. Well, maybe not. The slow is enough. He's trying to walk back out and away, able to blink out, and well, also the Ghost Scepter. They cancel the RP from Sox. They realize that he's just going to drop, so they don't end up losing Moon, but they do lose that Warlock for 60 seconds and no Golem.
If Rock is down, this is a very good time to push. Even if Warlock were alive, they still would be completely okay with that. We see a TP to the Shrine from the Lifestealer looking like he wants to push out the mid lane, but that is going to be troublesome if they actually want to continue this push down on bottom.
I wonder if DC maybe even realized this and could think about going for it on bottom lane, but yeah, it's so scary to even move out anywhere.
They don't have Roar either. Like, how are you going to jump people?
No. Well, 40 minutes in, certainly it's been Vici J the one setting the tempo and continuing to dominate this DC lineup. Are you feeling like there is sort of a swing back into DC's way at all, or is
Only
this
if
just
they
too
hold
much?
high ground like they did the last time.
Okay.
By killing 3 of the heroes when they had the Aegis. It's definitely possible. It's just really hard to ask for.
Weeha doing his bestest to make it happen as he's hitting the tier 3 tower in the top lane, but will be pulled back now because Vici J, they're ready to finish off what they started.
They actually need a Lotus on the Radiant side too. Probably Beastmaster's item that he needs to be able to deal with the Scythe. That Scythe it's a nightmare. If you're a Wii and you see that, you know you're gonna be in some big trouble.
Well, the melee barracks fallen, and it's just so hard to initiate here. They end up glyphing, comes out a little bit on the later side, and could pull back in one with the hook, but manages to hit the Terrorblade illusion instead.
Nice and clean, 1 Rax for Vici.
We don't have MKB up yet on the Lifestealer, so that might be one way in which this Terrorblade with the butterfly can stay alive in these fights.
Possibly.
Also do have the Warlock with the casual buckler. Not often that you see that. I think it's worth to upgrade it all the way to the Guardian Greaves, or...
Well, I mean, way too late. I would just get minus if I were him. 40 minutes in, screw it. You know if you're going to win, it's going to be like 65, 70. Greaves is minimal. I don't think that, like, the, 15 extra armor and 250, 300 HP is really going to help you survive in these fights. Whereas later on down the line, being able to farm like Lotus, Glimmer, Force Staff, Refresher, like these items are going to be able to make a big difference in the fights. But I don't even think he's going to have really the luxury to choose. Because I just saw him buy a ton of support items. Ooh, Daedalus, that's bold.
Yeah,
That's real bold.
and all the illusions getting the credit, everything. It's going to be a ton of damage. Not
Looks
sure.
like Daedalus making a swing back now after Bloodthorn been nerfed. Usually you see Bloodthorn, especially versus Lifestealer and Jug. But yeah, Daedalus just for pure raw damage output.
Well, Roshan does go up, and they realize this is happening. Did Vici J realize that this is up? They could move in for it, potentially.
Oh, they smoked. Let's see. Freeze is out in front. It's dead.
It's already down. They were going to be able to pick it up. Soxka is the one that ends up taking, Resolution is. They're looking for the RP, is maybe going to be able to take him down. Freeze already there, but the Rock has dropped. Fenrir taking a lot of damage. They get the Sunder off, turning to fight. Omni Slash is there. He's also hexed, so he is going to go down. Freeze in the meantime, spinning away. Weeha is on the chase. It looks like the Crush comes out onto the pullback in. RP, not going to quite get used, and Weeha still controlling, not able to kill off Freeze as of yet. He does get that Trine on. Trine run out and away, eats the cheese, but will be contained. Shane's barely saving his life there. They've only lost the Warlock as of yet. Everybody very low. ROTK trying to run away, and the Crutch, that's going to be enough to take down Resolution. Misery and Weeha need to get out of here before things get worse.
Oh, healing ward so strong there. Very well played by Freeze to not die. He went in, like he thought ROTK was going in, but he went in and then just immediately blinked out. So that was pretty scary.
Uh-oh. Well, that's going to be a kill onto Weeha, and he's immediately going to need to buy back. Still 50 seconds with no Terrorblade. The burst that came out onto Terrorblade was just a little bit too much to deal with. And another crush. They pull back in for a moment to Slardar and going to be able to contain him with Misery. Isn't enough, though. The damage from Freeze is just so tremendous. No way to stop it. 4 down, 2 minutes with no Weeha. And I think that Vici J might have just done it.
Well, yeah. The Pudge has been next to useless in this game based on Vici's draft. There's just no good hook targets. ROTK delivered on a couple RPs when it mattered the most, and now they're cleaning up the last racks. Melee racks, range racks, mega creeps, impending.
It feels to me as this game has pretty much been decided for a while. There are avenues for them to get back into it, but really hard to imagine it coming back at anything at this point as the Lotus Orb just reflects all of the spells in the world. They're turning. They're just going to keep on going. Wicked 6th streak, trying to take them down. Freeze, showing no mercy onto the illusions, trying to kill them off. 2 are dead. I mean, they're mega creeped at this point.
Slaughter is way too strong, too. Slaughter has so many items in this game.
I mean, they're holding on. Apparently, they still believe. ROTK, RP onto 1. A couple more right clicks there. Going to be able to take down that Warlock, and good game does finally get called.
Good game, well played.
Well,
overall, their lanes were a little bit better, and they did not get enough mileage out of the Ember Spirit Pudge. That's 2 heavy picks for them to commit, and like Searing Chains hook happened never, because you never really want to do it on the target. Like the one time they hooked the Life Steal, he just turned around and destroyed them. But very solid draft and play. ROTK, this was, you know, we've seen 2 phases of ROTK. This was definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah, definitely. It was a pretty impressive display from the entire team. And, you know, it felt to me as if the draft just as a whole didn't allow DC to do what they wanted to accomplish.
I think the early game also was way different. You don't see the Iron Talon very much anymore. Heroes starting off Iron Talon level 1. And they did that and put F-Line and offlane, which I think kind of threw them off because like Pudge would be very good at dealing with the Magnus and offlane, but like if your Slaughter dies a couple times, it's like, yeah, whatever, who cares? But Magnus got the blink that he did at a good timing because of their laning decisions.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us for game number 1.